you need to slow down to connect to God. You need to stop moving so quickly if you want to align with the universe. So I made a video recently called Just Do Nothing. And this video's of that same type of philosophy, this idea of slowing down. And a lot of you might have some resistance to this because the message most of us get is do more, move quicker. You're going too slow. So when you see a video like this, you might have some resistance to it. If I'm telling you to go slower, it might not make sense. So I just want to present to you why this could create a massive shift in your life, how this can make your life much more enjoyable. You'll get more out of it. It'll just be a better experience. A lot of people are just rushing through life. We're functioning on autopilot. Most of the time, we barely even stop to think. You get up in the morning, you've got your routine, you brush your teeth, you have breakfast, you maybe do some meditation, and you go to work. You're just constantly on the go. Most of us never stop to think about what we're really doing. We've become unconscious robots. You get back from work and you've got the same old routine, you do the same old thing, and you go to bed and you get up and you do it all again. You might even watch spiritual videos and read spiritual books, but you can't break out of that habit of just constantly doing the same thing on autopilot. And that's one of the dangers of this world that we live in. Everything's so predictable, and predictability is the opposite of helping you to grow. You can't grow when everything's too predictable. But there's this kind of a hack. If you start to slow things down a touch, you get more out of every experience. You can be doing the same things, you can still be getting up, going through the same routine, but if you slow things down a touch, there's a different quality to everything that you do. And I think this is because, from my own experience, there's a certain rhythm and flow to life. You can call this the flow of the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. There's a certain flow, a certain tempo. And it's a bit slower than what most people are functioning at. Like I said, most of us are on autopilot. We're going too quickly. We're desperately just trying to get somewhere. We're multitasking. But when you can find that natural flow, which is a bit slower than what you're probably normally going at, life starts to support you. You feel supported. Things just feel a little bit easier. But it's difficult for you to feel supported by life because you don't trust life. You see, you think you're in control of it all, hence the reason you're always rushing and pushing and grinding and always trying to force things. You don't trust life. You don't trust God. So when you start to slow down a touch, you're letting go a little bit. Okay, and that's hard for a lot of people to do, probably because of a lot of negative programming and experiences you've had have taught you that you need to control, you need to hold on tight, you need to do everything yourself. Why not let go and understand and realize there's a bigger intelligence than you here, which has been here before you, it's going to be here after you, it's here right now, it's making everything happen. And there's a natural flow to it, and if you can just let go enough, you can begin to align with it and be supported by it. Rather than having to push and be in this fight mode all the time. Just to help tune you into this natural flow a bit more, think about how grass grows, or a flower blooms, or the sun rises. Any of these natural occurrences that happen in life, things that we have no control over, they go at their own pace. The sun just doesn't rise in 5 minutes or a couple of minutes. It takes its time, but it still gets there. And it's set, and it works in perfect divine timing. There's a perfect divine timing that you are missing. Do this constant doing and rushing and multitasking type mindset. You need to just slow down a touch. Now, the benefit to this is you become a lot more present. Okay, and the more present you are, the more your life becomes enjoyable. The more you gain from every experience, even if you're just doing the same stuff. What I found is that I tend to learn and absorb experience more. I learn easier. I'm just going a bit slower. That's all I'm doing. Nothing crazy. I'm just not rushing. I'm being more conscious. I'm more mindful. That's essentially what it's doing. When I slow down a touch, it's making me more conscious of everything I'm doing and experiencing. So I have this analogy for you, which I hope will help you understand what kind of pace you should be going at. Now, take a scale of 0 to 100. 0 being you're dead, like there's nothing happening, there's no life, there's no movement. 100 is you going full speed, full pelt, like your full maximum. Now, I would suggest most people are probably going at about 60 or 70. Some are probably going a bit more. If you're depressed and you can't even do anything, you may be at like 20, 30. You're just too slow. And most people are just neurotic and too fast. Not even thinking about the 60, 70, maybe even the higher end of the scale. The place I believe you need to get to, that sweet spot of aligning with God, of finding that peace and support, is around 50. So in your own mind, if this helps you at all, try to imagine if I was going at about 50, how would that feel? It doesn't mean you do anything less. It means when you are doing it, you're just doing it a little bit slower. You're taking it in. 50 is not slow, right? If you take this as a car example, if you're driving, if you do drive, 50 miles an hour is not slow. You still get to your destination in a reasonable time. It's not 70, 80, but it's also not 30. It's a reasonable speed. And I believe life ought to be lived at this tempo. It's just a better tempo. You can take the sights in, right? Rather than just flying through. And I honestly believe if you're one of these people who are flying through life, desperately trying to get somewhere, life just moves quicker. Time goes quicker. Do you want your time to go quicker? Or would you rather just savor and experience things more? And if you would like to savor and experience things more, then learn to slow down a little bit. And this actually aligns with brainwave frequencies as well. So if you know anything about brainwave frequencies, we have beta, alpha, delta, theta, and gamma. But they start off beta. This is the most erratic. Beta is people who are just completely stuck in the head. People who've got anxiety and worry and stress all the time. And maybe people who are just compulsively always going at 100 miles an hour. They're in this beta, right? It's too erratic. That's not a good state to be in. Sometimes you might need to go into beta, but most of the time, when you're awake, you're better off in the alpha frequency. Okay, alpha's better than beta. Alpha's more of this natural flow, like you're in this flow of life. You learn and you absorb and you enjoy and savor each moment more. So you need to practice slowing them brainwaves down. You need to practice just moving a bit slower. The other brainwave states, if you're interested, like delta and theta, they're more sleep states. So when you're awake, you're not really going to experience them very often. You might in meditation, but going about your daily business, you will not. But dropping into that more alpha state puts you into the flow of this rhythm of the universe. And so how can you go about doing this? Well, it's going to be difficult at first because probably for your whole life, you're used to working and moving at a certain speed. And for most people, that's probably unconscious. You're just going through life, not really thinking about anything much. You're on autopilot. So what I like to do is I find a couple of tasks that I do regularly, and I start to do these tasks just a touch slower than normal. So these are things I do anyway. I'm going to do them anyway. I've just introduced an extra element to it. The element being, I'm going to do this a little bit slower. So find things that you do regularly, habits that you have, and introduce this idea that when I do this habit, I'm going to do it a touch slower. So let me give you some examples. So I like to read a lot. I read about an hour a day. Usually, if I'm honest, a part of me wants to get to the end of the book when I read. I don't know why I've got this kind of mindset, but as I've been reading slower and introducing this element to my reading, not only do I enjoy reading more, I absorb more and I learn more, and it just becomes a better experience all round, okay? And through that practice, I am conditioning myself to be more mindful and to be just a touch slower in life. So spend that time when I'm reading, not to just learn, but to recondition my mind and body to move a bit slower. Another area I do this is in working out. I work out 3-4 times a week, and rather than just going to the gym and just trying to get through the workout and just smash the weights, as people say, I'm much more mindful and just slow the movements down a little bit, right? Not only does that engage my whole mind and body, because I'm one system, and help me recondition my whole mind and body, it's usually a more productive workout, because when you're doing movements just a little bit slower, you're engaging your muscles more. You get better work, it's better performance, okay? So these are just 2 areas where I have started to introduce doing things a little bit slower, just a touch, okay? And naturally, that then bleeds into other areas of your life because you're training yourself to slow down. So find a couple of tasks, like I've said, that you do regularly and introduce this element. When I do this, I'm going to slow down a touch. Maybe it's just going for a walk. Maybe you just like to cook sometimes. When you cook, do you know what? I'm just going to slow it down a touch. In the overall grand scheme of things, it's not really going to take you much longer. So don't think, oh, I don't have time. That's your biggest problem right there, that mindset. If it takes you 10 minutes to cook something, maybe it'll take you 12, right? You're just slowing it down a touch. You're being more mindful, okay? And this is a powerful way for you to then start living life, because you're going to be much more resilient. You won't get caught up in emotions and feelings as much. You'll be much more grounded, more effective, more efficient, and you will enjoy your life a lot more, okay? So try this out. Slow things down a touch. Allow God to support you. Find that natural flow. The flow that is here for you, okay? So that is everything I'm going to talk about. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to watch some of these right here. But until next time, God bless.